there. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, yeah, we got it done. Thank you very much. All right. All right. Bye. All right. I know we're starting a little bit late today. 12 after, and I got my window for my assessor ride is going to be between 9:30 and 10 o'clock. So it's going to be, we'll see how much of the show we can do. We may go over a little bit. Want to thank our sponsors and want to let people know you can subscribe to our channels and you can hit the like and all that kind of stuff to improve the algorithms. We have sponsors as Dr. Richard Damiano, Christian Moving Brothers Company, then Denver Foundation, Wells Fargo, and the I forgot the last one. It's a new one.
It's basically the arts.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. I had it too.
Denver Art Foundation.
Let me go down. You get. I can't forget my sponsor, but
can't forget the sponsors.
Oh yeah.
So don't forget
Colorado Arts Relief Fund.
There we go. Colorado Arts Relief Fund.
Yes,
don't forget to check these guys out. Christian Brothers Moving Company, Colorado Arts Relief Fund, Wells Fargo Foundation, Denver Foundation, and
Dr. Richard
Damiano from Littleton Eye Clinic. He does a lot of cornea transplants, things like that. Vision's very important, especially if you don't have it. You really sometimes you miss it, other times you don't miss it at all. We got a lot of topics today to cover. We got some space stuff to cover. Looks like we're going back to the moon for the first time in 53 years, 54 years, somewhere around there.
I'm trying to figure out why. You can't live there. Yeah, you can't live there.
It's an unmanned mission to the moon, and the Artemis rocket, which they were going to send up today, ended up with a few issues with tank number 3 venting and some other things going on to where they missed their initial launch window. So they'll keep us apprised down at NASA Cape Canaveral, and we'll have perhaps more on some of that in the coming number of days here.
Now, for the people who bought tickets, flew out there and got a hotel because they wanted to see this, man, what a waste of money.
That's pretty hardcore. Yeah, I was thinking that I would love to visit one of these launches at some time in the future, but I'm a little broke right now. Hey, if you want to help us out at Innervision FM, visit paypal.me/Innervision Denver, and any gift will help. Anything from $5 to $500, whatever. We've got a number of new IRS agents that are going to be helping us to make sure that we have 87,000 reasons to make sure we get everything right with our paperwork. So thank you to our dear rich Uncle Sam. He's not so rich anymore, but
yeah. Hey, I want to promote 2 movies as well. I just saw the movie Uncle Tom, and
Uncle Tom.
I'm gonna Uncle Tom Part 2. And I am going to write up a little feature on Facebook concerning that, because it seems like Dr. Claude Anderson was on the Breakfast Club, and he was talking about we had a bus company that was owned by Black people, and they have Black mechanics and all that kind of stuff. And the civil rights sent King's people down there to say, okay, we need to say we need to boycott the buses down there. Now, what they didn't say was when they boycotted the buses, that also affected the Black-owned bus business, and it might have been a part of the socialist communist plan to divide and destroy Black businesses and then point it at, of course, to be proverbial white men, right? When it had nothing to do with them, it had everything to do with them wanting to fundamentally change the United States of America. And I need to do a little bit more research with this, but it seemed like what I would say, like a lot of people's hero, might have been working under the umbrella of communism, in that the civil rights thing has done more harm than good, because whenever you say we have to have a quota of this type of person, well, that they were already doing that in the Jim Crow laws and stuff like that, and that wasn't too well. How about just get out of my why not just get out of my business and let me open up the door and let me go in and get it myself, rather than you saying put in preference over me than another person. And LaChabo, he just left because I was going to ask him what topic he wanted to talk about, but maybe he'll be back a little bit later on. So anyway, Uncle Tom 2.com, and also 2000 Mules. Want to promote those two movies. So anyway, so we'll and it's going to be a part 3, Uncle Tom 2, because they set it up.
Interesting.
The last part was with Martin Luther King, and I just never thought about it, because it was breaking out the parts about BLM and how they have destroyed Black families. President Johnson, who really destroyed them by destroying like the family, and now it's like all these Black women ran homes rather than husband and wife like it was back in the 60s. And so I mean, it just really breaks it down, and it's all a part of the Marxist communist plan. And they found, like, if we use the Blacks to accomplish what we want, it's they're willing participants, and we just need to find some angry Blacks to always be screaming about this, screaming about that, and man, I got to watch the movie again. It's $25. If you could get a promo code, and it'd be $5. If you want to get that. I almost got the $5 one, but I had to get it through my Apple, so it was the full price. But I'm going to watch it again because that seems interesting. That I was bamboozled, and it's almost like the older I get, it's almost like I'm taking the red pill almost every day. So it's really wild. So anyway,
it's something that a lot of individuals find themselves being in this position where classical liberalism is alluring, and it draws people in. And there's nothing wrong with classical liberalism. Where things have really gone off the rails are some of the leftist type policies that have started to be enacted. It makes the average Democrat really hard pressed to just say, I want similar things that a conservative wants. But what is going down is we are being divided against each other for sure. The Blacks against the folks that are not Black, the haves against the have-nots, the conservatives against the liberalist, democratic type society.
The alphabet soup.
Oh yeah, the alphabet soup. In fact, that leads us kind of into the next topic, where the social media platforms that we use are being used in great detail to divide us. A case in point is a Joe Rogan podcast that Mark Zuckerberg was on the other day, wherein he pretty much told Mark Zuckerberg told Joe Rogan that, oh yes, absolutely, the FBI went ahead and they approached Facebook, and they said that we can't have the Hunter Biden laptop story out there. We cannot have that right before the election. So can you please mute that? Mark Zuckerberg and his team down there acquiesced and says, well, okay, we're going to go ahead and suppress the story.
Mhm.
People can still share it to some of their friends and so on and so forth, but it's going to appear further down in people's news feeds.
Mm.
Matter of course. The FBI responded to this, and they says, well, of course we approach them. We approach all social media platforms with certain things that we might find as, as divisive to the country, this kind of thing. I don't have the exact quote from what the FBI was saying about it.
And it was kind of surprising that when he was in front of Congress, he or his team said Diamond and Silk was dangerous to the social media, and that was kind of strange as well. Which they went back to their office quickly and took them off of the dangerous list.
Interesting, because these are two Black ladies that happen to run a really good show, really tight ship, in my opinion, with regard to some of their opinions and whatnot. That, we have always been taught historically that we could have our opinions. They were protected under the First Amendment of free speech if we choose to share those opinions. But these ladies were targeted because they're not following the line. They're not following the narrative that the establishment wants to have pushed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's true. So, so the FBI is not only meddling in things down at Mar-a-Lago, which that came later on. They also, were meddling into things of the Black Panther, and when they raided the Black Panther Bobby's house, and it didn't end up so well because this Black guy that they put inside the organization, he drew a map of where everything was in the house, and so when the FBI broke in, they knew exactly where everything was, and they went straight upstairs and filled Bobby with a bunch of bullets while his pregnant wife was laying right beside him, because J. Edgar Hoover deemed him to be a danger because he was able to reach across the aisles and talk to skinheads, Hispanic groups, and other groups, and bring them together. And so Edgar Hoover thought this is a dangerous man because he could bring these groups together, and now they're not fighting against each other. They're seeing who the real enemy is, and they're finding out that it's not each other. So once again,
go ahead.
Yeah, that's once again the FBI raid proved to be successful in that, and the organization got weaker and weaker because they didn't have this young man who was able to bring all these groups together.
Fast forward 50 years to today, and you've got things that happened in Waco. Don't want to go into that. Don't want to make our YouTube overlords mad. You've got Ruby Ridge. Can't go into that. Don't want to make our benevolent overlords mad. You've got the standoff situation in 2014 with some ranchers. Don't even want to touch that one. Can't touch that one. But the interesting thing is if you are found supporting these kinds of things, you're going to be on a list, and there could be a knock at your door from the FBI saying, hey, we're not so sure that we like the fact that you support these kinds of things or even look into these kinds of things. Our flags are messed with, our religious symbols are being messed with with regard to rosaries being targeted as well. So,
let me give you a little. I just heard this lady on the Kim Munson show this morning. It was this lady works at Disney, and she refused to take the jab. Right?
Okay.
So her boss started harassing her and sent like some really terrible tweets across the bow. And then I guess this lady used to pass out information, but she would put the American flag on there. And then so her boss called her and said, you can no longer put the American flag on there because some people might be offended. Well,
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. If you're here in America and you're offended by American flag, maybe you should go back to the country you came from so you can fly that flag and complain about that flag, but get out of our country.
I understand your feeling on that, Johnny. That's probably a sentiment really shared by a lot of folks here in America. I couldn't say one way or the other. I do try to stay objective, but this is my home, and I do love my flag and I do love my country.
Yeah, and like I said, it's like because we have a right to say what we want. But if America, and another thing about the film, everybody is trying to get here to America, but the only ones that are complaining about being in America are these black Marxist communist people that what they do, and I knew that they went in and they said, well, it's either a white lady or a white lady who started the NAACP, but then she put a black face in front of it, so you think it's Black Rand, but you don't know that the puppeteer is this Marxist white lady behind. Then this other guy, who's a Jewish guy, he's the one who got behind the Marxists. He says all we have to do is train these angry women mostly, train them and put them out in the front, so you think it's ran by Black people, but it's really ran by these others who are just putting forth this through that other person. And it's like, it's just, man, it's like the red pill. I'm going to choke on it.
It's because the idea is being propagated. Well, what can we do? We know something's wrong. We all know something's wrong, whether you're a Republican or a centrist or a moderate or a Democrat or a full-blown left-wing individual. We all know something's wrong. So what can we do about it? Well, our best way that we can get involved is to peaceably get involved at the local, state, and federal levels in any way, any capacity we can, any possible. Yes. That's not only getting out and voting here in the next
60
some days, somewhere around there, but it's much more than that. We can no longer trust those who we elect to help to make sure that the job gets done. And the best way is to get involved and get ourselves elected to any position we can, so that we can kind of help our Uncle Sam. We can kind of help our country be guided to some moral principles. That is why there's such a huge push for God to be removed from schools, God to be removed from our halls of power, our places where our laws are made, why the 10 Commandments have to come down. All of these things that were part of our foundation, if those can be changed, if those can be vilified, if statues can be taken down, things like this, why, the thinking is, if historically, those that remember a certain thing, if they can be squashed, if our voices can be squashed, why then, that plan that they have can go forward. No borders, no walls, and eventually no USA at all.
Yeah. And I know it seems so wild that they could just do this step by step, and the blueprint is out there. When you watch this movie, Uncle Tom Part 2, you'll see that, they got video of people actually saying that this black lady, she was just laying it out. This is what we were doing in the civil rights. We put that as a front, the civil rights, and we used our Marxist blueprint to put across what we wanted. And then the guy who found it, or who was behind it here in America in the 60s, he laid it out, and it's like they got rare footage that you won't see it on mainstream TV, and if you did a search on any of these platforms, it may be submerged way down. So if you put Marxists and communists and Martin Luther King together, who knows if you ever get to that way down there. But Dr. Claude Anderson, I missed that Breakfast Club where he was talking about these how civil rights put out these black businesses. Anyway, I'm talking about if you already got something going on, why would civil rights destroy that? Isn't it supposed to lift it up? And that's why, and I guess the people who were articulating why this let's see, what was it? What was it? The jobs thing. It was called something else. Quota jobs and all. Why they weren't articulating
Affirmative action.
Affirmative action. Affirmative action.
Affirmative action.
They weren't the ones who were in the know weren't articulating why is it a bad thing persuasively enough. And right now, in this week or this month, I'm reading the book of Romans, and I'll just put out there, put monkeypox, Romans 1:27, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
my, Johnny. Wow. Yeah, the book of Romans is a really good book, is all the other 65 books of the Bible. And, interestingly enough, Christianity is being attacked. The idea being you can have your truth. That's fine. Your truth is your truth, unless it interferes with my truth. Then my truth supersedes your truth, and you can take that tin-plated God and do whatever you want with it. But I'm going to take that Bible and I'm going to probably roll my tobacco with it or something. I don't know. It's interesting because it's not interesting in a good way either. It's definitely interesting. So, there is a time to make a stand for our God, and that time is right now. Right.
Also, let's get to this other story about, I guess, a grandchild saw her grandmother being attacked by a shark. Now, I didn't go into the Pacific. I didn't go into the story to read the rest of the story, but I just thought to myself, okay, you're with your best friend, and it's almost like it's that old tale, like you and another person is out in the woods, and you see a bear, and you have to decide, do you run or what do you do? And so one of your friends, he puts on his tennis shoes, and the guy says, "What are you doing?" Well, he says, "Well, I'm going to start running." He says, "Well, why?" He says, "Because all I have to do is outrun you." So, so if you, what do you do if you see that your grandmama is being attacked by a shark? Do you jump out there and hit the shark in the nose? I think if you hit the shark in the nose, that will make him release. But then does he turn his attention to you?
That's a very good and valid point. Wild animals, marine animals, including land animals, all this stuff, they're wild for a reason. And, so I've heard the stories. If you hit a shark in the nose, it'll release and run away or whatever like this, as long as there's no blood trail in the water. Bears, you can theoretically do something to kind of make yourself look bigger. Stack yourself up on top of each other, or maybe run in circles because a bear's front legs are shorter than their back legs. So they might have a harder time keeping up with you, especially if you have hills that you can use to run what they call like a switchback. So you start running up the hill, and then you really quick turn back around and run at an angle back down the hill. That bear theoretically can't keep up. I got to be honest with you. Altruism is being messed with as well in our society. So whereas people would normally want to just jump in there and help and do whatever is necessary, we have been conditioned and taught from a very early age to preserve ourselves first.
Take out your cameras and film rather than help.
Yeah, absolutely. Instead of putting others first, and instead of following what the tenets in the Bible are all about, where we put each other first, love your neighbor as yourself. Of course, love yourself, but you got to put your neighbor first.
Hey, I got to tell you this story. Okay, tell me what you think about this. Okay, so in Matthew 25, it talks about you were thirsty and you gave me something to drink, and you were hungry, you were in prison, you came to visit me, and the guy says, like, when did we see this? He said, when you did it to the least of these, you did it to me. Now it was just this weird thing. And sometimes I wonder if God puts me in this place. We're walking back from downtown, and this lady is crawling on the ground saying, I need water, I need water. And I'm thinking, and then that verse hit my head, but I'm thinking like, well, I don't have any water on me. So if I cross across the street and the border, am I being one of those Samaritans person who's one of those bad Samaritans who saw the guy in the street injured, but you crossed across the street, but the good Samaritan came there, picked the guy up, took him to what would be like not a hospital, but like one of those like single, like kind of like medical centers, gave the guys something to pay them, and said, if I owe any more when I come back, I'll pay you more. So I had those, but if I had never read the Bible, which they're trying to get us not to do, I would have never had those thoughts in my mind about crossing the street and am I being one of those like the rabbi and the other guys, and not like the Good Samaritan that said, okay. And then somebody did come by and I guess try to find out what was going on, because there was a Starbucks a block away where she could have got water from, or it could have been an act, but it just struck me as like, what would you do, or in a case like this, what would Jesus do in a case like that?
Interesting, because today's society has become violent, and people, our love for one another is indeed starting to grow cold. So, you bring up a valid point. What would I do? What would you do in this position, as opposed to what Jesus would do? Well, Jesus would make sure that she had water. And if we're followers of Christ, regardless of the danger, I think we need to step up and be followers of Christ rather than just fans, just folks that, we love him. Yep. Okay. And move on without helping our fellow person in need.
Yeah. And I think that's them telling me that they're 10 minutes away.
All right.
Well, so what I'm going to do is I guess we didn't even get a chance to talk about Tesla, so maybe we'll say that for tomorrow's show.
Yes, tune in tomorrow, because we got to talk about Tesla. We got to talk about technology itself. We got to talk about slavery. So join us tomorrow on Innervision FM. We're on 10 different platforms, in addition to Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, all these other things. Most importantly, folks, if you have not received your salvation, it's quick, it's easy, it's free. Just, pray the prayer. It's found in 1 Corinthians chapter 15.
All right. God bless you guys. Read the book of Romans, and we'll probably talk about it.